Hey, this is Justin with MasteryTree. The focus is how to grow more freedom by mastering the things that matter. And today's topic is how to achieve our New Year's resolutions and our goals in a way that is sustainable, that makes everything in our life better. And the reason I said that's important, I think the biggest reason why, I know for myself, but so many people that I've seen, why we trip up and struggle and don't achieve the things that we want, or even worse, we do achieve the things that we were after and then recognize that it wasn't worth the cost, that there was something in our lives that suffered because of it. And so the focus today is how to make it, at least the first steps, the first two tools. I'm going to do a whole workshop that goes through the whole process. And this isn't really part of that framework, but since I was going through, it's funny how you can have a framework and you can teach it to people, and when I started to do this myself this year, because I wanted to walk the talk. This is not something that I've read a lot of books and I've gone to a lot of seminars and I've had a lot of coaches and mentors and gone to masterminds and I've gained so much from all of that. But there's a difference that happens when you're trying to repeat something that you've heard or read, or it's way different than when you've applied it. And there's even more of a difference when you've applied it today or yesterday. It was something that just happened because it's fresh, and there's the thing that I've recognized is there's a lot of good information out there, and there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work because the theory sounds good, but as you keep talking about the theory, and if you're not walking the talk, if you're not actually doing it, you start adding all these ideas and all this fluff and junk that doesn't help and sometimes actually hurts. And so before I did the workshop and recorded it, I wanted to go through again and just purge this and make sure that I'm cutting out any fluff, if there is any. And then I recognized one of the things, and I've just done this so many times in the past that I kind of forgotten that this was part of the process, the way I sort things out in my head. And so, and there's two tools, and it's funny because the first tool, it was a good reminder. This is why I thought about it. I was talking to a friend of mine that's really awesome, and it's so funny. She had been asked to write a list of 100 things that she wanted to have, do, or be. And it's funny because she hadn't finished it. She had worked on it but hadn't finished it. And I told her, I was like, that's really common. I've done that a bunch of times. I've taught that to people, and when I've taught it to people, I've tried to help by putting some parameters, by saying, so this is the first tool that I give you is that if you had $50 million and 5 years, those are the constraints. So they're pretty big constraints. Like $50 million is a ton of money, but it's not endless funds. And 5 years is a good amount of time to do stuff. It's not like this is your last day on earth, but it isn't forever. And so it's a good chunk of time to do a lot of stuff. So the reason why I give those two parameters is because for you to list 100 things, what happens to most people is somewhere around 10 to 30. I don't know. It just depends. You start running out of things. And some people, I've sold it because, and maybe it's just because maybe I'm just more materialistic, or I don't know. There's something, I really don't know why, but it was actually easy for me to come up with. I think I got to 70 or 80 before I slowed down. And I just did that because, not just because I wanted all those things, like had to have them. I just thought that'd be fun. And I just started having ideas and just thought it'd be cool. And I was just being playful with it. It wasn't, some serious thing that if I write this down, this is something I have to do. That's not the exercise. The exercise is literally just anything that sounds appealing. If you had $50 million, what would you get? What would you spend it on? What would you contribute to like give people or whatever? So, and do this in a way. It can be helpful to get other people's ideas and opinions, but I think it's better to do it on your own and have the list where you're not going to show anybody else. The reason why I say that, when we filter what we say, when we think, is this appropriate? Is this good? There's a place and a time for that. This exercise is not the time or the place to do that. This is just a preemptive, this is something that we're just gaining a huge list of resources to look at and to start to see patterns and themes. And really the thing that I think is the most important, and why I was telling her this too, you need to finish, because somewhere around, for most people, around 70 or so. For me, I had to do a list of 150 or 200, and because after you get to a certain point, you hit a wall, and there's only so many, the red car and the blue car and whatever. And the thing is that once you hit that wall, all of a sudden something happens. I don't know how to describe it, but the answers start coming that you wouldn't have thought of before. And I don't know why that is. I don't know how it works. So far, because I've read a lot, talked to a lot of people, I've taught a lot of people, nobody's ever been able to tell me in a really good way of why this happens. And so, but it just does. And so I'm asking you to trust me on this. And the thing is, so 100 things, it's awesome if you can do it all in one shot. It doesn't matter if you do it all in one sitting. There really isn't. I'd recommend trying to do it in one spot just so that you'll have the chance to finish it. But you could do 10 a day. Anyone could do 10 a day. And so don't make this too hard, and don't judge yourself. Like, be as selfish or as frivolous or whatever, as you want to be. Just be playful with it. Really, imagine if you're like a kid on Christmas Day and anything, sky was the limit and there's no wrong answers. So, like I said, if you do this in a way that you're never going to show anyone else the list, that's the best. So that's the first tool. And I really think that's important, and I really hope that you do that. I challenge you to do that. I know it's really easy to hear something on a video, especially this is almost 8 minutes in now, and the next one, you know what, maybe I'm just going to cut this short and just do this on this video, because it's important enough to do this now. I'll get to the next tool in the next video. I really, really want you to do this. I invite you to write 100 things. If you got 5 years left to live and $50 million to spend, and yeah, I hope that you will do that. The idea of this is that it's going to make every part of your life better. It really, there's so many things. Don't just go into the cycle of thinking, I already know what I need to do. I needed, that's, if something that you've tried in the past and you think more willpower is going to work, it won't. That never is the answer. The answer is to get a better perspective, to use some better thinking, some better tools. It's so much better when you can grow in a way that's intentional and not just trying to force it. So, hope that's helpful, and I'll talk to you in the next video.